Welcome, Lisa.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're just gonna give we're just gonna give people just a minute or two to join us, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, that's fine. I came in early just to make sure I didn't have to fix my freaking headset again.
Whereabouts the small holding? I'm gonna go and hang out there.
All right, Sheila. All right, so Lisa is going to be our Keepside Chat today. I realize this has been 2 months since the last time we saw Lisa, so we're going to chat about some of the what's happened in those 60 days. If people have questions, if you want to PM them to me, either in game as Hoffman or in Mumble, that's great. So, Lisa, just mind introducing yourself for those that don't know you.
Sure, I'm Lisa Stevens, the COO at Goblin Works and CEO at Paizo. That's probably enough.
Sounds good. Hey, so it's been 60 days since we last saw you. What's the big changes you've seen?
Nice open-ended question. 60 days already? Seriously? God, it feels like it was only yesterday.
Yeah, I looked up the last Keepside Chat. It was actually February 18th.
Wow, time goes fast. So I mean, obviously, I think in that time we've seen a lot of of changes. Mainly, we're starting to see some of the promise of the game. The outposts and holdings, I think, are the first step in that regard in terms of player-owned buildings that they can place where they, well, pretty much where they want, and then we're going to start adding in other elements of that system in the next two sprints, leading to the point where they can be taken or destroyed, and they'll complete that first loop of trying to claim territory, and then other people trying to take that territory from you. And then also then we'll start using that those holdings to provide upkeep to settlements, and then you'll be able to start having more decision making on your settlements, what level you want them to be. We'll get rid of War of the Towers, and so I think that's kind of the biggest thing I've seen is that we're starting to get some of these systems into place that turn Pathfinder Online from something which basically has a lot of the same systems as every other game to something that's starting to have its own unique niche in the MMO market.
So, and you were doing Keepside Chats with all the different companies across the map, and I think you've done most of them. What have you picked up over the past 60 days? What have you learned?
I think I don't think I've done all. I mean, I definitely haven't done all of them. There's a bunch of people we're still trying to come up with times and stuff. I would say I've probably done half to maybe somewhere between a half and 2/3 of the settlements that are active at least. I know we know there's a certain number that'll never get back to me and set something up. So what have I learned in that in from those chats? Well, first of all, I've learned that players in Pathfinder Online are a passionate lot of people. I think to come into a game in its early stages, put up with the frustrations of bugs or missing features and some of those types of things. I think you have to be really passionate and dedicated and really want to be there because you have to put up with this, some of the issues. And so I am, I think I've kind of learned that there's a lot of good people in this game who really want to see it succeed, are working hard to make it succeed, working hard to leave a mark on the world and help us make a great game. And I think it's really interesting that I've gone for some of the smaller settlements, maybe some settlements as low as like 10 to 15 people, up to some of the bigger empires in the game, and there's a lot of similarities. I mean, obviously, it's the scope of maybe their operations and what they want to accomplish in the game might vary, but I think everybody has similar take on what they want to see in the game. I think we've managed, we've had a bit of turnover of people for whom the game doesn't match their expectations or didn't match up to what they thought it would be. And then we've had an influx of new people into the game, and those people are coming and making a difference. I think the biggest interesting takeaway from the chats is that for a good many of the settlements, the people who started the settlement with a land rush are a very large majority aren't in the game, and it's the other people have taken up those reins of those settlements and taken it into early enrollment, and so we have a kind of almost a second generation. I mean, if you say the first generation was the people that were involved during land rush times, we kind of have a new generation of leadership, and then I think that leadership is more committed and more invested in the game maybe than that original leadership was. And so I think that was kind of a interesting and surprising takeaway for me, but one that was also encouraging because instead of collapsing, those settlements found new leadership and moved onward and started growing again.
That's great. So you mentioned small settlements. Kind of, what do you think about size? And I mean, there's been a lot of discussion on the forums, especially when it comes to these holdings and all the other things.
Well, in terms, you guys have heard what the designers have said about what their theoretical sizes and stuff. But that's based on a larger population. I think size is very much dependent on how many people in the game and what kind of stresses there are on. If we get to a point where there's limiting factors, only so many settlement spaces, only so many spaces you can put holdings and outposts, and only so many bulk resources to have, and only so many coal hexes and whatever. If we get to a point where that becomes limiting, and currently that's not the case, then I think those settlements could have a harder time surviving because if a bigger group decides they need that hex or whatever, that they have the ability to take it. I think right now everybody kind of gets not pretty much gets a pass because we're living in the land of plenty at the moment. But as the game grows, as more resources are needed, as we're able to draw more people into the game, I think that'll become a different story. So those settlements that are smaller need to grow. They can't ever, if you started the game thinking you're gonna do a 7-person settlement and be able to thrive and survive for a long time in the game, I think that's the days are numbered. I don't know what those numbers are, but it's inevitably someone's gonna come with more people, and they're gonna need something you have, and they're not gonna get it any other way. And so I think when the devs talk about needing to have a bigger company or bigger size settlement, I think they're thinking into the future when there's 20, 30, 50,000 people playing the game, not where we're currently at. Where and so I'm not sure if that answered your question, but it hopefully did.
It did. I mean, at the same time, there were some discussions on the boards and been some debates about kind of retaining people into the game and keeping them in, and can small versus big groups do it? Any thoughts on how we help retain people?
I think anybody can do it. I mean, it just takes it's a matter of working at it. I mean, if I think in terms of recruiting new members, it just takes persistence and visibility, and the the folks who come into Pathfinder University and do classes for new students, they increase their visibility, and I bet you when 6 months from now, when you start analyzing where students ended up going in the game, I think you'll find a strong preponderance towards those settlements and companies which gave time to the Pathfinder University, came to teach, came to play with them when they went on an escalation hunt, like what happened with Og back when Pathfinder University was near Riverbank. And I think the people who are visible in general chat, who are friendly, answer questions. I mean, I've seen when I've been online late at night, I've seen new players come into the game, and I've seen they need help, and Pathfinder University is there for that. But every so often, it's nice to have a friendly face, run up from another settlement and maybe give that person a bow or a sword, or maybe run with them for a bit and show them the ins and outs of combat and how they attack a mob and stuff like that. I mean, I think there's some And when I see that, I'm guessing that when that happens, that person's more prone to kind of go and maybe join up with that settlement. Maybe long term they switch settlements, but in the short term, I think a friendly hand and being visible, I think, is a big thing. And I think you can be a small settlement and do that, and you can be a large settlement and do that. I think the large settlements have the advantage because they have more people, maybe to spend time doing that in game. But it's just a matter of effort, I think. And these for these new players, they just need to have some visibility into the activity and of settlements and what they stand for and stuff. And so I think that's up to each settlement to kind of provide that. Yeah.
I think that's fair. So you brought up the university. So talk to me, and you and I have talked about, I want to share with the group kind of thoughts about moving to university and some of those things around it, kind of, what's going on and all, and with that.
Sure. I mean, this all kind of started because Pathfinder University was doing such a good job of bringing new players into the game and teaching them the mechanics. And because I think someone called some called Pathfinder online, kind of they talked about the wall of confusion. That once you get kind of in the game and you hit your desperate goblins, and then you kind of like, where do I go with all this with my experience? That's when it kind of gets it's a little confusing, and eventually there'll be better tutorials and the online tutorials and better tooltips and all kinds of stuff that will help. And once we get to open enrollment, that's kind of part of what open enrollment will do. Right now, you kind of almost need a helping hand, and Pathfinder University was doing a really good job of that. Not that other settlements weren't also doing that with new people, but Pathfinder University was really kind of focused on that, and you could see the positive results, and it was resulting in people staying in the game, and then eventually leaving Pathfinder University to go to other settlements, become productive members of those settlements. And so one of the big problems was Pathfinder University was down near Riverbank, and it was way far away from the starter towns. Now, if we had a larger player base and we had opened up Fort Inevitable, and maybe that could have worked. But we early on, and our goal is to have Thornkeep be the starting settlement spot probably as soon as the next patch, if it passes testing. I mean, we've been doing some early stuff here, and it looks like it will, but knock on wood. Hopefully, in the next week or so, as we test and keep stability especially with less robust computers. Anyway, I think we're gonna have a lot of new people coming into Thornkeep, and I wanted a place for them to be able. I wanted them to be able to have an easy access to Pathfinder University if they wanted it, and so I looked around to see what was close to Pathfinder University that we could, to where Thornkeep is, and saw the old Kindleburn spot where we used to have a starter settlement there back when we just had the upper third of the map live, and I thought, that would be a good spot for PFU, and talked to Hoffman about it, and he talked to the staff, and they seemed to be amenable. So then we had a talk between PFU staff and the Goblin Works staff, and we kind of worked out what that would all entail and what we'd expect from it, and how we'd help out. And we got some good ideas from it, like a schedule of online events that's not just open to the Pathfinder University, but also to anybody who might have an event. And I know that Ryan's mentioned a couple times, and it's just trying to get these events up. I think actually Lee, is the one that's dealing with it right now. So if you have events that you're doing in the game, let Lee know, and we'll put it up in a number of places. I think we have a spot that's going up on the website, and I think we're also going to start doing it in the interface. When you're logging into the game for the first time, there'll be schedule what's happening that day. So yeah, long story short, we liked what they were doing, but we wanted it to be closer to where the new players were going to come into the game, so that it wouldn't be a barrier to those people getting to help, and that help would, I think, help keep people in the game. So that was kind of the thought process.
But the question is, I mean, that and very fair question. Is that favoritism? Is that anything like that? I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's kind of like you guys are backing us, and I appreciate that. But how do we, keep that from going crazy?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we said in our meeting with Pathfinder University, and that is that if someone else wanted to start a university and help new players, we'd be amenable to helping them out too, because we think that getting new players in the game is pretty critical to long-term success. Pathfinder University is the only one that's really shown that they were dedicated to doing that, but that doesn't mean someone else couldn't come and try to do that too. Um, and we would be open to that. And we told the PFU staff this when we were talking to them. So it's not really. I don't consider it showing favoritism. It's basically looking at something that the game needs and saying we're willing to, uh, to we want to move this closer, to where the new players are coming in. It's really just a focus on the new players. One thing I did ask is I asked Hoffman to go and talk to the powers in the area of this half of the map, just to make sure that they were um, okay with this, and because obviously, long story short, Pathfinder University is run by players for players, and so it's an in-game thing, and so if the rest of the server decided to rise up and march over to Pathfinder University and destroy it once those mechanics in, we'd let that happen, because that would be the server saying that they don't find Pathfinder University important enough in the game to keep it. So, um, so basically, I think we did this because we felt it was really important for new players, and that was really the kind of goal of the whole thing. And as long as Pathfinder University and its faculty continued their mission to bring new players into the game and help them get acclimated, I think the server's going to back them up on that. And if they ever fall away from that, I'm guessing the server's going to say, "Hey, your time's done." So there you go.
That's fair. Um, and I'm going to ask you another question on the university in a second, but first I want to ask about the location, because there was a debate on the forums that by moving the starter town to Thornkeep, that makes the Northwest, I'm going to quote, Ghettoville. You've got Rodder's Hole there and not much else. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, it's there's definitely parts of the map that have less active settlements in it, and you know, my goal in the not too distant future is to have ways that uh, these settlements can get taken over by people interested in running settlements, and hopefully then we'll see some of these settlements picked up by companies that maybe have gotten big enough that they want to break away from the mothership and head on their own, or ones that just have never attached to a settlement. Um, and I think that will help a lot, because I think it's a bad thing to have a lot of empty settlements in the game, but I don't want to just make it another. I think another politics thing where you get a lot of votes and you get a settlement in the game. I think we've proven that doesn't necessarily indicate that you're going to be a successful settlement. So I think we'll find some way in game for people to be able to claim a settlement, and my goal is to get that into the game as quickly as we can, because I'd like to see those settlements becoming more active and not be these ghost towns. But bottom line is everybody has ability to go where they want in the game, and I think if you want more people in the area, recruit them, and I think that's part of the job of running a settlement is getting people to come to your area, and so
I think that's fair. I'm just trying to find some ways to help out people across the map, and I can see the perception that all the activities moving in a different corner.
yeah, I mean I agree. And if other than randomly joining people to settlements they may not want to join, I don't know how you would do it. I mean, the long term, obviously, we want to have 3 starter settlements, and they're going to be in 3 different parts of the map. and then people will be coming in various parts of the map. We're not to that point yet, unfortunately. This is early enrollment. This is early part of the game, and then means there's going to be stuff that's not exactly like we would like to have it, and that does mean there's going to be some, you know, so things might be a little rough around the edges, and we know that it's part of what makes this early enrollment and what makes this part of the game different than when we're at open enrollment. So we, obviously when we were designing the game, we understood that there was a need to move people to different parts of the map. But right now we just we don't have enough people coming in to need 3 starter towns. So I'm open. If anybody has some great ideas about how to do that, put them on the forums. I read it every day. I'm reading all those threads, so I'd love to hear some great idea about how that we can help out with that.
I think that's perfectly fair. So can you talk also about the guide program? Because I think that's also an important thing because people have been talking about how do we actually help new players and some of the thoughts.
Well, unfortunately, you're talking to me and not to Lee. Lee could go on and on about the guide program, and he's the one that designed it, and so I unfortunately don't know a whole lot about it other than the idea is to effectively officially deputize some people to serve as guides, for people in the game to be able to help out in the help chats. I mean, currently it's been a bunch of people who have volunteered their time to sit in the help chat and answer questions as they're on. We'd like to find a way to vet it so that you know if you saw that somebody was a guide, you'd know that Goblinworks at least has taken some effort to vet them and say that these guys have a pretty good chance to have the right answer because they've been vetted. And so, exactly how we're going to vet them and stuff, that Lee has all that information and I don't. But the goal is to have some icon on in the help chat that will designate a guide as being someone with a little more authority than the just your average player who's answering questions in general.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the intent of that is not just to be PFU people. That's anyone.
Absolutely, it can be any person, any settlement, anywhere in the game. Hell, you don't have to be in the settlement. All you have to prove is a willingness to want to help and some sort of adequate understanding of the rules, so that, or at least understanding of how you can look up the rules and get the questions right and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's open to anybody and not just Pathfinder University, though they're more than welcome to become guides.
So how are we doing community policing? What's your kind of reaction to? I mean, I don't mean PFU. I mean in general. A lot of people have been working on kind of how do we help this community grow and do things. What's your thoughts?
I'm not 1,000% sure what you're asking me here. Can you restate it?
Yeah, it's just kind of the concept of we've been trying to take care of our own community and not pawn it off to Goblinworks and trying to help make sure everybody's playing well together. Your thoughts on kind of how we're doing as a community?
I mean, I think community growth is. I mean, when you're dealing with a sandbox, sandbox is only going to be good about as the sand in the box. And one of the things that when we were first drawing up our plan for Pathfinder Online, is we realized we needed to try to get the community right, and try to make sure it's as the least amount of toxic that we can make it, while still being engaging and thrilling and interesting and even dramatic at times. And so by doing, one of the ways we realize we need to do this is by keeping it kind of small at the beginning, and and then letting the community kind of develop its own norms and values and its set of politics and stuff, and then as the world grows, when people come into this the ecosystem that the players have created, they would find a way to police, because they've put a lot of effort into making a game a world, a sandbox, if you will, that they're happy playing in, and they don't want other people coming in and taking a piss in their sandbox, basically. So that was kind of always the thought, is that the players would end up determining what the norm should be in the game, and then they would, by their presence, uh, help to enforce that. Obviously, there's times that GoblinWorks as a company might need to come into a toxic situation or something where the players, someone's obviously not interested in playing the game or being a positive influence in the game or affecting the game positively, and they're just out to be a disruptor, and then that's when we have to step in and ban accounts and stuff like that. But for the most part, we'd like the players to be that first line of policing the situation, and then if we need to escalate it to GoblinWorks, then we can come in. But then when we come in, it's pretty much, we by that point it's probably we're making a ban or something like that, as opposed to trying to work with people and trying to get them to understand what the norm is inside the game.
So I got a lot of questions leading up to this about kind of the general health of the game. Kind of how we doing, and there's a lot of questions about kind of why are we taking in new players, what get opened, and I mean, how's GoblinWorks doing overall? Can you share anything?
Sure, I can share a little bit. I mean, I will tell you that this last weekend was the best weekend for Pathfinder Online since the last weekend where you get max experience and end of January. Obviously, Outposts and Holdings, I think some people were waiting for that to come online before they jumped into the game. We had a great weekend in terms of recruiting new people, and so we can see it on the new signups and stuff like that. Um, it's the game is right now the most important part of the from my point of view is the community coming together and forming a community that can be accepting of new players when they come in the game. We need to get once I unleash marketing, a big marketing campaign, and we start getting a lot more people in, I need to know that this community can take these new people and get them uh, and get them into the various communities and help integrate them into the game, because that's going to be a huge part. If they come into the game and there's just a lot of nothing for them to do, and it seems toxic or whatever, then I'll just waste a bunch of marketing money that I could be using on building the game, and I wouldn't want to do that. I don't want to waste. I hate wasting marketing money. Anybody at Puzzle will tell you that. Um, so I health of the game, I think we're by my measurement, which is the health, the community that we built, and it's what I'm seeing in the community right now being very I'm seeing a lot of people really being passionate and doing some cool things in the game. I think we're on the right track, and I'm pretty happy with where we are. Um, the numbers will come. There will be times this summer that we'll be doing some various campaigns to reach out and bring some new people in, and we'll keep growing. We've been growing every day. We add people into the game. This last week we brought a lot more people into the game, and it'll keep growing. And so I'm pretty happy with where we are. Do I would I mind an extra 1,000 or so people in the game? No, I wouldn't mind that at all. But it's not like it's like some people on the forums would have you believe it's not some horrible situation where we don't have that many people in the game and it's a total catastrophe. It's not that at all. I'm very happy with the number of people we have. I'd like to have a few more, but I wouldn't want that at the risk of destroying the community that we've been building over the last couple of years.
It's really helpful for you to tell us about that weekend being high. How about you guys worried about the end of the month, people's time running out this April time frame? I mean, there's been a lot of talk in the community about that.
You're full of really, really probing questions. You should get like a job on some news show or something. Um, Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't have May 1st circled on my calendar as a date. I mean, we know how many accounts are up for grabs at that point, and it's definitely the May 1st date is definitely a important date in terms of people making a decision, and it's had a lot of it's I when we've talked about internally about what we're doing in the game. One of my goals was I wanted to get into the game before May 1st. The elements of the game that make Pathfinder Online unique, and mainly the territory control and outpost and holdings. That was a huge part of the push for that. Was I want to be able to show people, um, what's in store, just the very very beginning of what's in store, but give them a taste of what it's like and stuff. And so, yeah, definitely. Um, I'm sure I'll probably have a few sleepless nights heading up to that. But I also know that we're doing the best we can, and I'm proud of the team and what we've been able to accomplish, and I'm confident in the support of the community. And my guess is that we'll do better than I expect. But I think there's definitely parts of the community that are going to check out at that point, and that's I guess that's kind of expected at some point. But some of the survey stuff that Ryan's been doing, the vast majority of the community seems to be pretty happy with the game and where it's going, and the progress track we're on and how fast we're on it. So that was actually a nice alleviating factor for me, was when those survey results came in, and it was a large majority of people said that they were pretty happy with state of things. And obviously everybody has concerns and things they'd like to see fixed and things like that. But I think the community we have right now is a community that understands what we're trying to do here, and that this is different than other games, and the process we're going through is different than other games. And so yeah, so I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, May 1st, I'll probably have a sleepless night.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. I mean, my theory is always, are you getting $15 of entertainment out of it? And if nothing else, half the threads can be your entertainment right there while you're in the game. So, we, so let's go some fun stuff, and let's see. One of the things we've been happy of doing, Lisa, is trying to pull things out of the developers and get clues. So we keep hearing about some type of like mule or something. Can you give us any clue about moving heavy stuff?
Well, Hoffman, didn't you get the memo? We're gonna take your character and give you lots and lots of encumbrance, and we're gonna rent you out to various settlements to move things around. You didn't get that memo?
I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be the first time I was called a mule. Oh, never mind. That's another word.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's obviously with bulk resources coming up in the game, there's going to be a need to move them, and moving them maybe from a holding that's right next to your settlement might not be that hard of a thing, and maybe you can run it with some people and stuff. But if you're as holdings get further away, or maybe as you might need to do some sort of trading to get resources you can't make locally with people further away, obviously there's a need to transport those things. So I will tell you this: before uh, you need bulk resources to upkeep your settlements, there will be a means to transfer those in some sort of way. Let's call it a mule.
All right. So I also know that you guys have been actively playing your group there from Godworks. Kind of, what have you learned as a player?
Well, I've been playing since the day one, and I play a lot. I actually probably put in, oh god, probably about 3 hours a day at least, every day. So I've been going through the same frustrations and cursing and throwing stuff and everything that the rest of you all have. And like, except I get to come to work and complain here directly to people, which I guess is a benefit of being COO. And I also seen the game grow, and every so often, it surprises me and makes me smile, and it's happening a lot more lately. Um, but we have, the guy when you're I could tell you when you're working on games, and it doesn't matter whether you're working on MMO or tabletop game or whatever, that you work a lot on the game, and it's kind of hard to when you get your free time to play the game. And at Paizo, we have to every so often go and tell our players, we really kind of, our employees to, go out and play Pathfinder and, get into a game, and because you need to play the game that, you're working on. And we're taking the same approach here at Goblinworks, and we started doing some play days at Goblinworks, a weekly play day where we get as many people as we can. Obviously, if someone's on some huge crunch for some piece that needs to get into the game, then they're excused. But if not, we make a character and let's go out and do things in the game. And the goal is to try to do as many of the things in the game as you can. So we want the full experience. So um, you know currently we've attached ourselves to Pathfinder University because we want to play with some of the new players as they come in the game, and we can kind of watch and see how they're experiencing that. I can tell you, I've had to make a zillion trips, moving all my stuff up to Pathfinder University. No special treats, no meals for me, just my dwarf. Um, but it was fun the first time we played the first game. Everybody was kind of maybe some of us had played for a while, so there was a number of us who had experienced characters with higher level gear. And then we had a lot of newbies, and we went into one of the Bone Dancer hexes. And the first time we hit a Death Squad, oh my God, there was husks everywhere. It was, and it was chaos. I mean, just literally as I was trying to give instructions, someone drew them, and then it was just chaos, and everybody was dying. And so after they all got back and got their stuff, and we all went to the next one, more people died, but less each time. And by the end of our session, we were taking on death squads as a group, and no one was dying. And it was interesting to hear, people talk about the game like, has this always been a problem? What's with this thing? Someone hasn't, and then you hear like, I bugged that last week. Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to fix it. And it's good. It's a good thing because I think you need to play the game. You need to see what the state of the game is, not what it is in your brain or what it is on some spreadsheet or whatever, but actually kind of what people are seeing in the game. And I think it's going to have a huge positive effect because um, they're getting to see the game, and sometimes experiencing a problem might give them an idea about something they can do to fix it. And so, we're having to craft our own gear, having to gather our own stuff. We're having to train, or we're seeing the frustrations of that. We have to get our own recipe drops, and everything. And we're gonna put up a holding and outpost and maintain them for Pathfinder University. And you know, it it's important that we're experiencing the game and we're having to do what every other player in the game is doing. And so that's been a big goal for me, is to get the staff, everybody from Ryan and me, all the way down to the art staff and programmers and stuff, to sit there and play this game. And I think as each play session happens, I see on people more online, more playing more in their free time, and we've had a little more ad hoc grouping and stuff like that outside the play time. And so I think they're getting a little more excited about being a player in the game that they're making too. So anyway, long-winded. Yes, we're playing.
That's fair. And are people like lining up to gank you guys because they know who you are?
Oh, for the most part, not. I think I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm sure that'll happen. I'm sure at some point, you know, I mean, it's happened to me once already after that 2 months ago after that first fireside. Um, but eh, if people need to do that, they need to do that, and I can't say I would be happy with it, but if that's part of the game. It's your when you make yourself known and you're maybe important to the game. I'm sure Fellaini and Sheet will probably tell you how many times people have come after them because they know where they are, or Niamon or someone else. So it is what it is, and I guess it's um, part of being in the game, and if for most part I think people have been really really good and cool, and we've I've done some deals with players in the game to get things I need or sell things I've made, and so everybody's been pretty cool in the game, so I can't complain right now.
It's great. So let's go to some fun stuff. I know PaizoCon's coming up. Anything cool from Paizo coming? Maybe give us some insight from your other hat.
Wow. I have to tell you that normally I would know everything, but I spend all my days at Goblinworks right now, and I have two very very good executives over at Paizo, and Eric Mona and Jeff Alvarez, and I've been training them for years to take over and run the company for when I retire. I just had to kind of with Goblinworks, I had to kind of pull the plug a little earlier, and I'm still obviously at Paizo, but I'm only there like one afternoon a week, so I trust them that they're going to have amazing um, PaizoCon put together, and I'll probably be as surprised as most of the participants about what's happening there. I do know what's happening on the Goblinworks side, but that's a different story.
Well, let's hear about the Goblinworks side, what we're doing, and what's going on at PaizoCon there.
Oh, you're gonna make me pull up my email because otherwise I'll get it wrong, right? Because I'm old, and when you get old, you forget things all the time. Let me look. Yeah, that's been a long time. Here we go. Maybe.
By the way, while Lisa's looking things up, if you have questions for her, you can PM me, and I'm making a list here.
All right, so looking at the list right now, and so generally this is kind of what we have planned in terms of seminars and things. We're gonna do a meet and greet so that people can have a chance to put faces to names. Hopefully, we won't have any out of game fistfights, but we'll see. But I think out of game, most people will be pretty. It'd be fun to meet a lot of people. So it was something that people asked for, and so I decided to put that in the event schedule. We're gonna have a seminar about the economy of Pathfinder Online, talking about the different loops and kind of the thought process the designers put into it, and things they're watching, and things that could happen, that then how they might react to them. We're gonna have a year in review and Q&A where we look back and maybe break a couple of things about how are going to happen in the future, and we like to tease stuff at PaizoCon, and it's kind of an area where on the tabletop side we announce upcoming books and stuff, and we're gonna follow a similar thing with Goblinworks, and there'll be some surprises that you guys will find out about first there. There'll be an Art of Pathfinder Online thing where Mike will kind of talk about the process of creating art, and then reveal a bunch of some upcoming art that's never been seen. We're gonna do a big Adventure Time from PaizoCon. So this is something that the PFU guys came up with that I thought was pretty fun. We're gonna get some people at PaizoCon playing there, and then we want the online community to get involved, and maybe we'll go take on a challenging escalation, and just basically it's kind of like Adventure Times with Bonnie, but from PaizoCon. So we'll see how that goes, but it should be fun. And one of the things we're doing all weekend is we're going to be letting people at PaizoCon get on the game and make characters, and we'll basically, once they make a character in the game, they'll have effectively a free buddy account from Paizo, from Paizo, and they'll have however many days it is, 15 days or whatever, to kind of play for free. So our hope is that once we get them in, they make a character and they have this free game, they'll come back and keep playing, and this will be a good way to get them after the convention to come back and download the game and keep playing. So let's see, and then we're going to talk a little bit Settlements. By the time PaizoCon rolls around, which is the Memorial Day weekend, settlements will be literally on the doorstep, and so we're going to take some time to really go into depth about the settlement systems and show some of the art for the upgrades of some of the buildings and some buildings you've never seen before that aren't currently in the game but have been created. And this will be a chance for us to kind of really delve into the settlement mechanics and UIs and stuff like that, and kind of shine the light on what's going to be coming in the next few months in the summertime. And then, of course, I had to get Bob to go talk about PV and escalations, and talk about what his restrictions are right now, and where he wants to see the game go in terms of what new technology he wants to have the programmers create for him and stuff like that. So it'll be a chance to kind of so we'll talk about that aspect of the game too. So, and I think that's pretty much what we're doing.
So, any chance we can, broadcast or whatever those events, so everybody online can get to them too?
I guarantee you yeah. I mean, we'd love it, and if some players do it, it would be even better because if it's Gobworks doing it, it might take a while. I mean, I can tell you that all the on the tabletop side, various we have people that aren't Paizo that go and film them all and put them up online. So we don't do any of that, but um, who knows? They may take the Goblinworks ones and film those too. I don't know, but I would love to have someone do it. And if not, I'm sure Ryan will. I know Ryan's got a video camera. I'm sure he'll videotape it. It just might take forever to get online.
Yeah, PFU will take that as an action item, just so everybody knows.
Perfect.
We're going to have some people up there volunteering and teaching people. We're hoping that everybody can, in-game, actually come up to Thornkeep, join things, and we can actually get some in and out of game at the same time. All right. So, sorry, I'm just looking at my list here. Oh, somebody made a note. They looked at your website, saw there were some job postings for developers and programmers. I mean, is the staff growing, or is that just kind of a post that's been there?
I think those were old ones. I'll have to make a note to have someone look at that. I don't think currently we have any open. I mean, we'd obviously love to hire more people. And if someone came by and gave me $5 million, we'd have a whole lot of openings because we could do more if we had a bigger staff, and we know that. So, I think those need to come down. So I will make a note of that.
All right, great. So that's my other note. So there's been a lot of debate on, is this a Pathfinder game or Eve with swords? You want to weigh in on that one?
Can the answer be yes?
Only if you can explain it.
Oh man, you're killing me, dude. And last time I ever do one of these things.
That's my job, is to get it out of you,
All right. So here's the thing. What makes what is Pathfinder? And I think that's the crux of a lot of the debate on this thing is what's Pathfinder. And to some people, Pathfinder is all about mechanics. It's all about what's in the core rulebook, and whether if it's how faithful of a transliteration of that rulebook to the MMO is. And for those people, it's an absolute failure because it's not that game, and it can't be that game, and there's a lot of good reasons why it can't be that game. Some legal, some design. What makes a good MMO and what makes a good tabletop game are very different. So in that regard, it can never be Pathfinder, the rules as they're written in the core rulebook, and it never will be. So I think Pathfinder, if you think about Pathfinder as being a flavor, whether it's the flavor of the world, Clarion, or whether it's the flavor of elves and dwarves and humans and fighters and clerics and and going out and effectively, I've had some long time ago Gary Gygax tell me that D&D was characters going into the wilderness, killing things and taking their stuff, and then effectively that's what Pathfinder Online is, what that is. So it's is is it perfect yet? Is it the And I think there's still a lot of room to grow in this area. In fact, I've been putting a lot of brain power into how to get the lore of the world out better. In a traditional first game where one player is playing a game that's very story oriented. There's lots of cutscenes and stuff which tell the story in a cinematic way. And in MMO, we don't really have that. I mean, someday we may have a cinematic opening sequence that kind of tells you, here's how you got into this world and stuff like that, and that might help somewhat. But we need to find a better way. I mean, it's funny because every time I'll be asking the developer or the designers, why did you put this here? They'll be like, oh, in this book over here, there's a group that's done this and that, and they caused these guys to flee from this other area and they settled here. It's all here on page 32 in this book, and you're like, okay, I had no idea that was there, and then no one else does either. But the designers, there's a lot of reason to the world, and it's all really rooted in a lot of the tabletop books that have been made by Paizo, and I really want to find a way to fish that out better than it is right now. And so I've been thinking a lot about it because I think if we can connect the lore of the world a lot more into the game, I think it'll feel more like Pathfinder, even if the mechanics can never be the tabletop.
Yeah, we actually have Cheeto's doing a class now on the Galarian lore for those interested. He's doing it on Saturdays, so it's been kind of just an interesting discussion. Of kind of where did the Ustalavians come from?
Exactly. I didn't have a chance to. Oh, thanks, Cheetle, for the link. I'll have to come back later and watch that. But yeah, I think I think we have a lot of room to grow in that area, and then being someone who is intimately involved with making the world of Galarian and stuff, I have a vested interest in trying to tease that out better and make it more apparent, and so um, you'll see a lot more effort from on my end to try to find ways to do that in the game. And again, if anybody has any great ideas, Lisa at paizo.com. Please send me an email. I'd love for people to help me brainstorm.
You just opened the floodgate there.
I love it. I mean, anybody that knows me knows I'm not a solitary thinker. I like to think with a group. I like to talk with people, and I like to I can talk via email. And I've always said I only have one brain and I think of everything. So I'd love to get good ideas because it's I have some, but someone may have the most genius idea of a way to make it more Pathfinderish, and I'd love to hear it.
Great. So, any other sage wisdom for us? Or anything you can tell us coming up soon? Those type of things.
Sage wisdom. I mean, most of what's coming up is going to be the outposts and holdings. That's kind of where we're really focused right now, and let me see something quick. Oh, I had a thing here just a second ago. Let's see. Just carry on without me for a second. This is the part where someone needs to put like elevator music or something when they put this online.
It's okay. We can wait.
All right, so that's what I was looking for. Um, I'm looking at a spreadsheet which is talking about some of the major features coming. So obviously the next sprint, we're in EE8 right now. Effectively, most of the work is going to be done by the end of this week. A lot of it's done already. It's being checked into the we have a test server called Chitterwood that we use internally before it goes on to Zog. And so a lot of stuff's being checked in for testing on Chitterwood, which will probably start happening as early as Friday, and then it happens all the way up until when we put it on Zog next Thursday, hopefully, knock on wood. And yeah, and then it'll go live hopefully the next Thursday. But big things, obviously, feuds, declaring war, company to company war. is going to be a huge thing. We've been doing a lot of. We have Richter is one of our programmers, and he spent this entire sprint doing almost nothing but working on overall performance upgrades for the client, making it run better, crash less, and just trying to make the game so that it will play better on everybody's machine, including some lower end machines. And that's really what he's doing entirely on this sprint. It's something we felt was pretty important going into moving people to Thornkeep as a starter location, which is also going into the game. Let's see, holdings. There's going to be upkeep on holdings, so you'll have consumption of bulk resources to upkeep your holdings. So that'll go in. You still won't have to upkeep your settlements, but you'll have to upkeep your holdings.
When is that going in? Because we have to move things around still.
That's going in E8. So
is our mule coming in E8?
now remember that. So with the outpost automatically transfers stuff to the holding. It's getting it from the holding to your settlement that you have to do it yourself. So
Right.
So what's going to happen is your outposts are going to put it into the holding, and then the holding is going to pay for its upkeep from its own resources.
But it doesn't make its own resources that it needs in some cases.
I don't know if that's entirely the case. I was kind of told that it was gonna that its own upkeep comes from resources created in the hex. So that the settlement was going to need a variety of resources, and that's where you're going to have to move things around and get things that you maybe don't make locally. So I'm not 1,000% sure, but I was just in a meeting earlier today, and that's what it sounded like to me. So I'm pretty sure that what we're talking about here is whatever resources your hex is making, your holding takes some of it as part of an upkeep process. But I mean, and if you can't pay the upkeep, then things happen.
Well, so we'll have to get clarity on that. Like, so for example, lumber mill actually uses bulk food right now, even though it makes bulk wood.
Yeah, I'm you're starting to get out of my territory, but that's like I said, I was sitting in a meeting and I could have swore that's what I heard, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. When I'm looking back on this thing, there'll be a management UI for managing your holdings and stuff, and assigning people to them and things. I'm pretty sure upgrades are going to get in. Not 1,000% sure, but I'm pretty sure. I know they've been working on the art side, and I saw some of the tier 3 or the tier 3 upgrades on a lot of the holdings, and I can't wait to upgrade my sanctum. And I'm pretty sure that's the bulk of it. There's probably a lot of little things and stuff in there, but let's see. There's a creature in Thornkeep that's in a cage is going to be enter the game in a lot bigger numbers with full escalations.
That's an E8?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Lisa. If you want to stick around and answer a few questions, we'll open it up to the channel, but we'll close out our Keepside Chat today. For next week, did we have a confirm of who's going to join us?
Yeah, next week, coerced Mike Hines, the art director of the project, to come, and he was supposed to come today, and then last second he had to cancel because of a personal thing, and so I stepped in. Well, actually, I got recruited or hauled in by Hoffman, but Mike will be next week.
Great. All right, we'll open the channel. Do you mind sticking around for a little while, Lisa, or you got to run?
I can stick around for a little while. I gotta probably leave in about 15 minutes or something.
Sounds good. And I'll open the channel.
Hey, Lisa, how you doing?
Why did I guess Cheat will be first one?
So I was wanting to talk about, there's a lot of threads recently where people have been saying that they're going to, take a hiatus from the game, or they're leaving the game, or something along those lines. And there's been a lot of points that have been brought up about certain things that they don't like, and one of those points was about the basically hauling stuff from settlement to settlement to settlement. How that's a big pain in the butt, basically. And I was just wondering if this whatever system that you guys are putting in place, mules, carts, whatever, is that something going to be readily accessible to companies, or is that going to be something that that settlements themselves are going to have to basically band together to make?
As far as I know, it's going to be it'll be accessible to everybody, including the person that just joins the game as a solo lone wolf can have this. What I call it, a mule. Yeah, so it's going to be something that's going to be accessible to pretty much everybody, and we don't have no plans to try to make it something that's hard to get and use.
Sounds like a profession of long distance hauler.
Well, I mean, it's definitely when I can tell you that you'll be able to haul lots of stuff, but you won't be quite as fast as you will if you were running on your own. So animals can be a little slow and stubborn sometimes, but you'll be able to. You won't have to make a lot of different change. You'll be able to do it once. Now you may have to protect it because, well, someone may see this laden creature and decide to relieve it of its bounty. So that could happen too. So I think there might be a need to have people with you, but maybe not. If you live in an area that's not frequented with a lot of people, you could probably move stuff with impunity pretty easily. I think so.
Find some game trails.
Yeah. So yeah, that's coming in really, really soon, and it'll either be, like I said, it'll be in before you need to do bulk resource stuff, which for upkeep, which I think is going in EE9. So it'll be at least by EE9, and who knows, it might make it into EE8. We'll see.
I have a question about the feel of the game. It's very much sword and sorcery, but in the tabletop game, they've actually started to introduce things like laser pistols and stuff, all the weird stuff out of Numeria. Do you think that'll ever make it into the Pathfinder Online?
Yeah. It could totally do that. The way I like to look at things, and I do, if you look at Pathfinder tabletop, you can see where I'm going with this. And when we started there, we started doing adventure paths. We steered pretty close to the heart of sword and sorcery for a fairly long time. We didn't veer off until I think the first time I'm trying to think ahead of time here, but mainly was by Jade Regent when we went to our Asian analog, and then we did a couple of weird things where we've done some weird things, and then of course recently we did the one where they went to Numeria, and that was probably the most far off the center. I always talk about the center of sword and fantasy, sword and sorcery fantasy, and like Verisia, for instance, is the part of Galarian that's kind of, it's basically, if you had to say that's ground zero of the baseline, that's what it is. So obviously the River Kingdoms have Numeria right to the north. And if you played in Kingmaker, some of that technology from Numeria made it into Kingmaker, the adventure path. And so I think for right now, since we're building this game, we need to keep it as close to the ground zero until we've finished ground zero. We don't have gnomes and halflings and half-orcs and half-elves in the game yet. We don't have rangers and druids. We have to build ground zero. Once we build ground zero and we have the full swath of ground zero, then I think we can look at adding other stuff down the line. And I know the designers would love to tackle Numerian incursion or something like that, and it could be fun. But I think that's going to be a little ways down the line as we kind of build out the baseline.
Well, see, The thing about Numeria, though, is it's already having a huge effect on the game, or getting ready to have a huge effect on the game, because that's where all of our crater hexes come from. The you know the incident that happened in Numeria.
Sure.
Is there any way you
there's
could tie that? I mean, like, I know you said you want to stay near the baseline, but is there any way you could tie that incident with what we currently have in game?
I mean, yeah, definitely. And there's obviously we're laying the groundwork for adding some of these other elements into the game. We have, Ustalof nearby too, which is sort of the gothic horror stuff. And I mean, there's, we're surrounded. The whole River Kingdoms is surrounded by um, interesting areas that we can start bringing influences in from, and elements in from. And it's one of the reasons I picked it is it has this ability to kind of like add lots of different elements without just totally blowing the canon of Galarian. So yeah, you'll see stuff. Just let me get the gnomes into the game.
Well, that's really fascinating, and River King is really fascinating, and it's one of the things I talked about in the lore class, because we're sitting here on the border of 6 of some of the most interesting countries in Galorian, and I mean, I just think it's really cool
I
that
agree.
you chose this.
I agree. It's just this is. I mean, this is where I'd set my home campaign. I mean, I ran Kingmaker here, and in it's the only that I actually the book on the River Kingdoms is one of the areas I actually wrote something. I mean, I guess everything I've written for Pathfinder pretty much has been set in the River Kingdoms, so it's not surprising. For those of you who have been around a zillion, as long as I have, you'll know in Greyhawk, Gagax's Greyhawk, there was a place called the Bandit Kingdoms, and I sent campaigns there for a good part of my career, and so and for Eric, Mona, and I, and Jason Bowman, Greyhawk was our first true love, and so the River Kingdoms is our homage to Gary and the Bandit Kingdoms.
Oh, very, very nice, very nice. I can actually see that flavor there.
What
Now,
about a non-Cheetle question? Sorry, Cheetle.
yeah, sorry, it's all good.
I got nothing.
It didn't have to be filleting.
Flame just talked to me the other night when I talked to Golgotha and the rest of the Empire.
All right, go ahead, Cheetle.
The other question I had for you is settlement chat. So this is a really big one because a lot of people are looking forward to it, or at least company chat or something along those lines.
Yep, I hear you, and I know I know we want to put it in. I think it's something that they're aiming to do once with their first wave of settlement stuff. I'll make sure it's put to the front of the line.
Because I mean, like, there's a lot of us in here, and a lot of people in here have talked about this with me. We all have people that don't necessarily want to always be on voice comms, and there's a lot of people playing the game that are obviously they don't want to participate in world chat or TeamSpeak or Mumble, but they will participate in a smaller community chat. And personally, Theo has quite a few of those, and it's just it would make the world seem bigger than it is, even with world chat involved.
You don't have to sell me, Cheadle. You don't have to sell me at all.
Yeah, no,
You're preaching to the choir. So I will. I've heard this from a number of people from the various fireside chats, and when that's the nice thing about the fireside chats. When I come out of those things with notes, those things tend to get put high on the list, and this is high on the list, and I'll continue to use my awesome influence to make sure it gets done as quickly as we can possibly do it, because I think it's super important, and for all the reasons you just said. So, and actually, you kind of remind me of something, and I wanted, since Flane's here, I went and it just came up in my chat with the umpire the other night. So one of the things that they brought up that I thought was pretty smart is at this stage of the game when we're have a low server population, the auction houses, people are putting stuff in auction houses, but there's no guarantee that that their goods are going to get bought, and there's a listing fee in the auction house to put stuff up. So to encourage people to put stuff up, we're gonna end up removing the listing fees for a while, just to kind of get people to put stuff in auction houses. There'll still be a fee when it sells, but it's kind of like the eBay free listing times. Now this will be a free listing time in the game where, and I know everybody needs cash to train and stuff, but so we're gonna try to get that in as quickly as we can. I don't really looking into what all needs to get done to make that happen, and hopefully it can get done quick.
That'll make all my crafting dudes really happy.
I think it'll make a lot of people happy, and it's just I want to. We need to jumpstart the economy, and I know everybody wants. I know the other one that everybody wants is some sort of buy options.
order.
Yeah, buy orders and stuff like that. So that's another thing. I think it's just a no-brainer. Then we'll try to find a way to get that in, sneak it in with everything else that we're doing. Because I think if anything, buy orders are kind of like players giving quests to other players, which I think is awesome.
Do you have any ETA on when the UI will be re-updated for company tabs? Where previously we had various different options in the tabs themselves, but now they're all gone.
Oh, you're talking about the yeah, you're talking about
The banks, yeah.
the banks, yeah. I don't know. I all I know is that I've raised that with the most power and importance that I possibly can, because every day that I have to go through that interface, I lose a sanity point, and I desperately want it back. And I know I've heard Mark Calms talk about what their plans are to add that stuff in. I just don't know. I don't know where it is, but it's up there with a lot of these other things that I just keep hammering and pushing for. Getting this done, get this done, get this done.
I have a question about the home heculations. We've heard from a couple people that they may not spread. Do you know if that's true or not, or do we really need to keep hammering away at them every day to keep them under control?
Home hex. So the home hex escalations are changing. Did they change, or are they gonna change?
They just started on EE7.
Okay.
EE7 is the first time we saw escalations start in the monster home hexes rather than the other regular monster hex.
Let me ask Bob a quick question. Got it right from the man Bob himself. They do spread, and they act just like any other escalation, except that hex will only ever have that escalation in it.
That's what we thought. That's why we've hammered away at them in the northwest corner.
Well, then I got a bug to report to him.
Report it to him then.
There's not a lot of population in the west, so any escalations that start there, are they likely to just spread across the whole map?
Yeah, I mean they could. I mean they could, and I mean we've seen that with the Bone Dancers, where that escalation from over there took across the map, and there's still lots of remnants of that sitting around at various places. Now we've made some of those changes to make if it gets orphaned, if the source hex is defeated, the orphan hexes are a lot easier to take down. So I'm hoping people will take advantage of that to clear these things up, and especially if they need to clear them because of holdings and stuff like that. I mean, maybe we'll start seeing more of that.
Have you guys considered that there might be going on in the game right now for the current population in terms of escalations?
No, I don't think I have, but but we're watching. I mean, we're watching. We'll see what happens. It's hey, just because just because you guys ended up getting 3 tier 2s down by
Well, I mean, it's not only that. There's places in the map where, like the ruin hexes, for instance, are reinforcing certain places, and it's just really hell on those people to clear them out.
Yeah, I mean, if specific areas that you think are problematic, let Bob know. He likes, he's looking into this. It's the kind of thing where, give Bob information, and he'll go take a look at it. And we're constantly looking and tinkering and trying to find the right level. So if there's something in particular, send Bob a note or
But yeah, I mean,
whisper him when he's online.
I could definitely do that. Like one of the situations that personally is that there's about 12 hexes, monster hexes that haven't been cleared in at least a week or two, if not longer than that, and they're 100%. And then we have 20, 18, 20 other hexes that people are regularly clearing, but there's a possibility for up to 16 tier 2 escalations on the map. And if you couple that with the home hexes in places like the High Road Covenant, where they have 2 tier 2 escalations in their home hexes, plus 4 of the cleared hexes on the map, things could get really out of hand in their situation since they have 12 ruins hexes right there in their area.
Yeah, I mean, this is a total Bob thing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's his area. So, I know we talk about every day. We talk about
well, I'll definitely send him a message about this.
Please. All right,
Do you
guys,
know if his? Sorry, one last question. Do you know if it's a deliberate choice for the monster home hexes to automatically respawn at server up?
If they were taken out.
Well, yeah, if they're taken out, they automatically respawn at server up. Whether you took them down just before server down, or you took them down an hour after server up, the next time the server comes up, the monster home hexes, the home hex escalations are start over.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let me ask Bob quick.
Yep.
As far as the bug goes, I was talking about earlier, is I haven't seen our home hex actually spread. That's what I was talking about earlier.
You haven't been killing it right away?
No. We were just leaving it there, checking it out, see what it would do, and it hasn't spread.
Did your Uslavs get far down?
What do you mean?
Like, were there Uslav hexes around the home hex to stop it from growing, maybe?
You guys are gonna need to get
yeah,
Bob
definitely.
in this thing. Is all I can say is he's trying to explain this to me, and it sounds like they're supposed to act like every other escalation hex in terms of having 36 hours between when they come back, and then they don't normally all automatically come back. They have a chance to come back, and though he did tell me one interesting thing, and that is that if you defeated the Og home hex, and then Og somehow in that time spawned somewhere else, he wouldn't appear back in his home hex because he can only appear once on the map. So that's kind of interesting.
Don't kill Og.
Thank you. We will kill Og now.
All right, guys, I gotta go off. I got some place to be tonight. So thank you for hanging out, and thank you to Hoffman for peppering me with hard questions that are going to. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. So anyway, I appreciate everything you guys do, and appreciate you being part of this community. And I hope to see you online and talk to you in game, and talk to you in some of these fireside chats. And if you run a settlement and you haven't done a fireside chat with me, I know some of you are in the process of setting up sometimes. But if there some of you that have missed this, please contact me. We've been having a lot of fun with them, and it's a good chance to kind of get a chance to talk with a smaller group. So that's it. Thanks, guys.